I feel like in Malta, it's quite difficult to be a content creator, an influencer, whatever, and still have an opinion. They don't go together in this country.
Unfortunately, the connotation with the word influencer is so negative, especially in Malta. Women do not want to be on radio because they're always being judged.
Yep.
And the worst is they're being judged by other women.
Once I spoke against bird hunting, and I ended up receiving death threats.
It drains you without you even realizing. Social media is engulfing. You just become part of a cycle. And if you don't want it to stop, it just won't stop.
Welcome to the She Word, where we have conversations that women rarely have but really should. My name is Sasha. I'm your host for this edition, the Young Women edition, where we are having conversations which are more tailored for a younger demographic. Young Women and Social Media is our fourth episode for this edition, and I think it couldn't be more fitting that we have a moment to talk about and acknowledge the realities that women are living with in this day and age, given the presence of social media. I truly believe that hosting a podcast on such a topic is significant for a number of reasons, including the impact social media has on all our lives, the impact that it has on social media, self-perception, the need to address certain societal pressures, as well as all the good it can bring, and finally, empowering its users. Did you know that according to recent studies, nearly 90% of young women aged 18 to 29, which is practically the demographic of this podcast, use social media platforms regularly. And when I say regularly, it means on a daily basis, and if not on a daily basis, like hours every single day. So that's quite a staggering number that reflects the significant role social media is playing in all our lives. And our conversation today will aim to uncover all of these layers. So let's dive straight into our show. For this episode, I've invited three women whose lives and careers all heavily touch upon social media, from social media executives to influencers and social media personalities. I can guarantee that the show will have it all. So, without further ado, with me today I have Hayley Borch, who became a social media executive for Love in Malta at the tender age of 16, shortly after opening up on her experience with eczema on social media and getting quite a massive response. Hello, Hayley.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Madeline Baldacchino, who is a full-time scientist, beekeeper, social media influencer, and model, also interested in agriculture and the environment, and you often use your platform to talk about these things. Hello.
Hello, Sasha. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And finally, Taryn Mama Chafai, who is a radio host for 897 Bay, actress and social media personality, often documenting your travels.
Happy to be here with everyone.
Yay! Okay, so ladies, a massive welcome to the show, and thank you all for accepting the invitation to be here. I think it's truly important that we all take the time to talk about these matters all together in a very open and safe space. So now, after I've introduced all of you, I'd like you all to take a brief moment to introduce yourselves. Hayley?
Hi. All right. Mala, basically, my story or journey starts at 16. Not too long ago, but it starts 2 years ago. I posted about my eczema. I have severe eczema all over my body, and I posted about it to raise awareness about eczema and how difficult it can be to live with it. And then after that, I started applying for internship roles, whatever I could find, as I dropped out of school. Because I couldn't take it anymore because of COVID, and I just wasn't doing the subjects that I wanted to do. And then Lovin came along, and I applied, and now we're here. So
Nice.
There we go.
And we'll open up about it
Yes.
a bit deeper as well once we go into it.
Yep.
Madeline?
Hi.
Hello.
So shall I start by first focusing on how I started on social media? So essentially, when I initially had an account on Instagram, I started seeing on my Explore page, especially most of the models. I've been a model for 13 years, by the way. So all the models I used to see on social media were like heavily tanned. So it was based on everyone just having this perfect, like picture perfect golden skin. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so shy. And even in Malta, like living in a Mediterranean island, a lot of
Yeah.
people just tell me, you need some sun, you're too pale, are you sick? If I don't have like any makeup on. And I started like posting photos of me with no makeup or just having like bikini photos with no fake tan and like just having my pure pale skin. And I started getting like a lot of attention for it because I used to post like, hey, it's fine to be pale. Pale skin is also beautiful, even though like at that time the standard seems to be like golden skin. I used to get like adverts for spray tans and, you know, having this, you know, you're bombarded with the fact that you're not pretty enough for that standard. And that's where like my career on social media started, because I started gaining a lot of following like from Malta and even like from abroad. And I was like, okay, what do I do with this, you know? Because I had been modeling for a while, but I didn't know how to go from modeling to social media. So yeah, that's like my social media story.
So basically, you got to that point by just being yourself and
Yes,
going against the
exactly. By
curve.
coincidence.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Taryn?
I didn't really come here prepared to tell everyone a story, but I think
Oh, no
you
need.
described myself quite well. I've delved into a lot of different parts of media. I've learned a lot. I'm still learning. But actually, my social media story started when I was an actress. I had done a famous, well, in Malta famous, so 500,000 population kind of famous TV series called Strada Stretta. And to be fair, before that even started, I was ready to give up on TV totally. I had a very, I wouldn't say a very good experience in something before. And I said, you know what, I just don't think TV is for me. I had always done stage. I love stage. I sing and act before, sing and dance before I act. So anyway, but then we got to a point where social media started to boom and started sharing my life, things that I love, what I'm doing. And here we are today. So it's been quite a journey, and kind of, I think as much as social media has grown, I have as well.
Yeah.
And I've learned things along the way. And now I feel like if I could go back and tell myself things, I probably would. But then again, it's
You
always
live
a
and you
lesson.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's me.
Amazing, guys.
And now I'm a radio host,
Yeah.
which
So,
is crazy.
Azat, and you've been a radio host for 4 years now, right?
Now. Yeah, with Bay. I went from having a Saturday show, and now I have a daily show, which is a drive show, which is one of the main two shows, which is quite exciting because I get to be. But at the same time, you have to really sort of distinguish between your real life and radio, because you're there to make people happy and excited, and sometimes you might have a bad day, and you have to just look past it, which is obviously fun because I get to go there and my mood changes instantly because I have to. But at the same time, you have to sort of differentiate between what is your life and what is your working life, because the intertwining happens quite regularly, especially with social media. And so it's kind of, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, we're off to a very, very great start. We've already brought up a lot of points, which I want to touch upon throughout the show. So, Haley, I want to start with you. So, your experience inspires me so much, I think, because I literally also went into a similar field also at a young age, but
Yeah.
not as young as you.
Yep.
So you joined one of Malta's biggest media houses when you were just 16 years old. Yes. But before that, you had gone viral, I can say,
Yes.
for speaking about like body positivity and your experience and empowering others as well. So tell us a bit, like, how did you end up on social media so early on in your life?
Like I said, basically, I had so much free time because I stopped school and COVID was starting to kick off. And I decided I was looking, to be honest, it started with me looking at Pinterest. That's where it started. Looking at models, like everyone's like, their legs are perfect. My main eczema is in my legs. But I decided to just post about it and see. I wasn't expecting anything of it. I was just like, hey, this is what I look like, because I never posted anything about it. And then it just kind of went all over. Yeah.
And like furthermore, like to this, like what was your experience with like embarking on such a high stress job as well?
Yeah.
While you were still 16 years old.
With the eczema post, I realized the impact social media can have. So when I went to Lovin, I realized if you post something, people are going to react to it. Whether it's you have a small following or a big one, people are still going to react. They will comment, they will share, they will not comment, they will hate it, whatever. Everyone will have an opinion on whatever you post online. With Lovin, it made me realize the impact and the power it can have. It can be a good one and a very negative one. So I've come to understand the importance of seeing what you're posting and being aware of what you're posting, not posting something. Yeah.
And like how do you cope as well? Like you literally live on social media, like
Yeah.
you work on social media.
It's been a bit of a tough mental journey where I've had to stop and my day ends at a certain time and my life starts at a certain time. I can't keep on going 24 hours of my life looking at social media, thinking of posts and thinking of ideas. At some point I was going to burn out, which I did. So you have to find that balance between your life and your work, which is quite difficult because basically now our lives is on social media.
Yeah.
So anything, if I stop work, I'm going to go on my phone the second after. So you have to find that balance between working and your life, which I'm still trying to find the balance of doing, but we're getting there.
What if you could start your journey over? Start here and start again there. That's how life works, in a circular way. We understand the importance of circles, and that's why you are at the heart of ours. Find your way to wellness with Browns.
Madeline, you literally work, like you mentioned it before, 45 hours a week inside a lab. But
Yes.
then you also have 140,000 followers on Instagram. That can't be easy to manage.
Yes, in fact, like at the moment, I'm focusing more on my full-time career as a scientist, it's called quality control analyst, and not giving much attention to social media because it's either or. And my job at the moment, since I want to continue advancing in it, like I'm doing a master's and eventually like I want to do my own thing as well, I need my time to focus and concentrate. And I can't stay, if I'm at work, if I'm in a lab, like I'm usually wearing a mask, gloves, specs, lab coats, everything is just protected because I can't be, damaged by hazardous chemicals that I work with. I can't have my phone with me. So most of the time I just differentiate. And then when I'm off from work, which is usually like a 10-hour shift, I'm just not in the right state of mind to stay checking my social media. So if I am like interested in posting on social media throughout like the previous 5 years, I would say I have to be cautious of what to post. But also I realized that since I was getting a lot of attention, posting bikini photos and, some extra male attention that I was not ready for, I realized that like sex sells, right? So I can actually start posting opinions that are valuable to me, like the importance on beekeeping and conservation of bees and any other insect, to be honest, because they're all important.
Yeah.
And just the protection of nature, conservation. And people start to react positively to them. And I was like, okay, so it's not just my body, right? Because being a model, it's all about how you look, and you're made to think like nothing matters about what you say. But then since I was getting sort of like validation, if there's like a better word for it, that I have like good opinions and I'm sharing a positive message, and people are really interested, and that's how I feel I am a bit influential when people actually tell me that I am influential, not because I state myself as an influencer. And I'm like, okay, wow, someone has been positively affected. Like I used to get messages from young girls tell me, listen, I chose biology and chemistry because
sweet.
you used to speak about biology and chemistry so much, and I still do sometimes if I have the time. And I feel so happy, like it makes me feel so wholesome
Yeah.
that someone actually decided that their career, or maybe that's the subject that they decided to study on, was because of me. So it leaves me with such a positive vibe, honestly.
So before you were doing more influencing when it comes to products and brands, right?
Yes, when I was a student and I had more time on myself, Eventually, like if I have more time or if I have like a better balance, like time management, I would go back to working with brands if I believe in the brand. I mean, I always worked with brands that I believe, but I can be even more selective, seeing like how their carbon footprint is, like what kind of products they are promoting, because I don't want to necessarily post something that is like fast fashion or over consumerism, even though it can be a good buck essentially for me, and I could essentially work as an influencer and not having to work in the lab. But morally, I just really wanted to focus on being a scientist. After all, I mean, testing on medicines, pharmaceutical drugs, is super important, and I feel like I'm contributing to humanity a bit more, perhaps. Eventually, I'll want to, speak more about what I do, like, for example, in beekeeping and, the gardening that I do, and sometimes agriculture. Like, I want to speak more on that. I'm just in the process of, looking for a better, like, balance.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, then, an issue that I was, introduced to on social media was when you post bikini photos or the content that people want to see or that some men want to see, you get the algorithm, it's favoring you, you get boosted, you go on the explore page. But when I like post on beekeeping, unfortunately not everyone is interested. There are a couple of people like who follow me, actually not a couple, a lot of people follow me for the nature related things. But I am a bit like, I'm not just looking forward if I know that the Instagram algorithm is just not going to push it. So it's something that we all need to like
It's a
focus.
reality, like with a lot of things on
Definitely.
social media, that's really how it is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the right thing doesn't really sell. And that's a problem when it comes to kind of thinking about who you are and what you want to promote. Because, I mean, obviously, it's not fun when something doesn't do well, especially if it's something that means so much to you.
Exactly. Like when you're
know?
so passionate
Yeah.
about
Exactly.
something, and why are people not seeing this? I've like,
Why don't people
dedicated so much
understand?
time.
Like, why is it that something that is so, I mean, futile if you think about it, does so well, and then something which means so much to you and can make so much of a difference in people's lives? Why do people disregard it? It's kind of ironic then, because people might actually attack you about those things, and you think it's crazy.
Yeah. So on this note, did you like ever feel as if you've become a bit of a slave to the algorithm? Like you're just posting things that the algorithm will pick up?
Yes.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's only natural that sometimes you catch yourself doing it because you want to please the people who are behind it.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of what social media really is, and you kind of really have to stand your ground and be much more self-aware of what you want to be promoting and the way you want to not be perceived, but the way you want people to know who you really are. And social media, there's a very fine line between who you are and what people perceive you to be. So, yeah.
Yeah. So coming on to you now, because I have a question for you. So you're often on the radio or even modeling for different campaigns. Like I
Yeah.
see you around sometimes, but you mainly use your Instagram for documenting your travels.
Yeah.
And I want to hear a bit, like, when did your account start growing and what is it like to document most of your life?
I'm gonna take you a bit of a while back because I think social media and women, it's a very love-hate relationship. Actually media and women in general. For quite a while, I just strived to be perfect and strive for perfection and for people's approval. Just because in media and in entertainment in general, you're trained to be happy if people praise you. And that's something that's ignited in you, and you kind of automatically, I was fulfilled by approval. And that happens a lot in social media as well. So it's taken me a really long time to come out of this idea that, your platform is your own and you post what you want and it's on your own terms. And I'm not posting things just because people want to see it. But then you get pressure. You get pressure from
You still
people
feel it.
expecting you to be what they want you to be. And it kind of, there's a fine line because obviously people follow you for a reason. And it's nice that you get their approval and people say, "Hila, well done for posting this," or like, "This is really great." And but at the same time, do you think, am I doing it for them or am I doing it for me?
Yeah.
And that's something that you really have to think about. I think sometimes maybe we do things for other people, but like with travel, that's like my little niche and that's my baby and that's where I get to be myself because I love travel, always have. When I was in grade 5 at school, I had this teacher who was obsessed with India, and she just made me feel so alive. You know, she was the only person who I felt understood me, and I understood my passions and how like wild I was as a kid. And then obviously I had to conform to the normity of what I was expected of me. But for a while I just felt very free. And I always associated travel with that freeness, you know, of like getting out of your comfort zone, meeting new people, going to new places, exploring, and I get to be myself. And that's maybe why I think people see me much more comfortable posting and sharing when I'm traveling. Because there's no stress and there's no, you know, you have to do this or you have to do that, or I just can be myself. And kind of the social media thing just happened so quickly for me. And it wasn't really, I never imagined, first of all, Instagram to be what it is today.
Yeah.
You know, back when I started posting, it was just fun and photos and everything was so light
Losing
and
yourself.
airy. And nowadays there's so much weight to everything you post. So
What
you
hashtags should I use?
exactly. And it's not just that. It's
What
like,
emojis do I put in the caption?
what am I coming across as?
Yeah.
If I post this, what does this say about me? So there's a lot more thought that goes into it than most people can imagine and think apart from the time. Ashina, this comment of, but you know, content creating isn't a job. Oh, no, of course it's not a job. It's many jobs. You know, what you would, so if you have a juice, let's say, and you're giving it to a company, a marketing company, it goes through many different stages. It goes through the thought process, it goes through somebody creating a strategy, somebody coming up with the design, someone taking photography, a model, editing. Whereas when you give it to a content creator, she does all of that or he does all of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not one job, it's many jobs.
Many
And it's
jobs.
exciting because you get to see a product from beginning to end. You get to work with people you love, amazing brands. So there's also the good side of it. But then you get people, they always have something to say. And unfortunately, I have come to realize now at the age of 29 that you cannot please everyone. And they've said this to me over and over again. But I came into this industry as an actress, and molding was my specialty. I was great at it. I would mold into a character, and thankfully I always had the good characters, the pretty little ones, the ones who always brought a lot of love and attention. So I was never demonized as a person. So when maybe my first, you know, attack came or my first hate comment came, it was a shock to me. You know, how could these people be saying something like that when they don't even know me? It's like if you had to sit with me in a room, you know, I'm a very opinionated person. Like with my friends, I'll be the first one to give a comment about anything that's current or an affair. But then on social media, I have to be very careful what I say because no matter what you say, sometimes people are just going to have something to say.
Always.
So it's always.
Always.
Whether it's good or it's bad, they will always have something to say. And you cannot be everyone's favorite person. And that took me a very long time to understand. Because obviously, coming into this industry as a people pleaser, it's hard to just take a step back and say, no, but this is how I feel and this is what I think. And I don't have to prove myself. Because there are so many more important things. What's most important, people around me know who I really am. And the people who follow me know who I am. So, you know, I don't have a doubt about it. I mean, they know me, they can hear me on the radio every day. They know who I am. But you have to take it. And it's not as easy as people think.
Yeah.
It comes with the job. People say, if you're online, if you're social media, you're bound to be attacked. Yes. But why do we have to attack people? Why do we find it in ourselves to have to always have something to say? And people say, we're in Malta. It's not. It's around the world. You see big, huge stars getting attacked and being cancelled. You know, so that's everyone's fear, is to be cancelled, obviously. So you're careful about what you say, how you bring yourself out to be. And yeah, it's a delicate subject, I guess.
Something about the way you bounce makes me want to keep you around my mind. My mind, mind. Something about the way you sound shakes me up and makes me get down on my.
So on this note, you two, have you ever felt that you had to limit like what you say on social media because of the way that it might come across?
Yes, especially working in one of the island's biggest media houses. You have to. For me, I don't really post as much as I want to on my personal account, as it just gets too much after work. I'm always on my phone. I don't want to go home and be on my phone again. But there has been certain instances where something big has happened in the country, and I've limited myself from commenting because I don't want someone else to come and attack me and be like, you're saying this and you're from Lovin. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've taken a step back before, so
Been there, done that.
Cool.
I just keep getting myself in trouble. And what about you?
Yes, I've had to limit myself after like I had two major things that happened on social media, and I started getting hundreds of hate comments. And one of them was on the fact that I commented on the murder of Lasana sis back in 2019, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was posted on a local media website that influencer states Maltese man, blah, blah, blah. And the fact that I assumed that it was a Maltese man, in fact, it was a Maltese man. So I guess I was correct. But in the comments, they were like, how does she know? Should she be like with the police at the moment because she seems to know more information than the rest? I was like, I will never, like, I will be so much more careful what to say about anything that is like racism, bird hunting. And once there was a story like that, it also ended up on social media, and I got so much hate from fellow biologists, by the way, and like fellow like entomology lovers. I posted a photo of a chameleon that I found in the middle of the street somewhere in Sigewi, and I took a photo with it. It was so cute. It was crossing the road, and I stopped the car immediately. Like there were no other cars. It's a very quiet road. And I like waited for it to cross the road, and then at the end, like I picked him up, and you know, apparently the chameleon in Malta is an invasive species, but it's protected. So technically, you cannot touch it. It's illegal to touch a protected species. But at the same time, it's an invasive species. So it means that it's eating eggs of certain birds and a lot of other like local wildlife. So this media website posted influencer and model saves chameleon. And in the comments, they're like, they never made an article about me. I saved so many. And then it was posted on this local entomology group, and people were getting like they were writing so much judgmental things. Oh, who does she think she is? She's a model. Like, what does she know about nature? Mind you, I was a biology student at that time at university. So anyway, and I was like, okay, from this day on, I'll be so much more careful to whatever. But even then, like whatever you say, like she said, like Taryn said, you will always get hate for
And
it.
it's such a pity.
Yeah.
so
I was
you
so
limit
scared
yourself.
then. I was so scared, like from both instances. I was like, I just posted it. It was on my Facebook, by the way, so it wasn't even posted on Instagram. They just shared it without telling me on, you know, a local media website, and I was just shocked to see an article about me labeling me as an influencer. And at that time, I'm not sure now, but when there's the word content creator, an influencer,
People hate.
she's an
People
influencer, like who
comment.
the,
Yeah.
Like they.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the connotation with the word influencer is so negative, especially in Malta, that it's kind of, even us as content creators, people who have influence on social media, we kind of feel awkward saying like, you know what, I actually don't want to be associated because it has such a bad connotation. But like Madeline, I mean, they don't even know her story. She's probably the most qualified person to talk about these things. So like the fact that you would belittle somebody and you have no idea how knowledgeable she is in those things.
Yeah.
You know, and the same thing happens with anything. Tayyip, Mela, when something happens in the country, let's see the influencers post, let's see the content creators. And then when they do,
They
get
still
hate
hate for it.
And unfortunately, the media outlets don't help because they slam it on the front pages. And obviously for them, it's clickbait. It's great, you know. But it's just, we can't, like, nobody can win. And it's just so sad because it's ironic. So do you want people who have a following to speak, or do you want them to just feed your ego?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you want it and when you need it. But you have to remember there's a person behind it, a real, true human being.
Exactly.
And yes, maybe they are up for scrutiny when they deserve it, but more than not, they don't.
Yeah.
They're just trying to live their life and share it and maybe help somebody along the way. And honestly, if like maybe Madeline's story helps people actually think, oh, you know what, biology and chemistry aren't nerdy subjects, they're great subjects, and you can have a modeling career while doing it. You can have a following while doing it. That's amazing. If people can look at me and say, okay, you know, girls are considered to be bimbo-ish on radio and this on radio, and then they hear me speak and my opinion matters, then maybe they say, you know what, actually that's not the real truth. And I'd love to be on radio because That's just a huge problem we have.
Yeah.
Women do not want to be on radio because they're always being judged.
Yep.
And the worst is they're being judged by other women. And that's the most
That's
hurtful
the
thing.
worst.
And so, okay, on this note, like, do you ever feel as if your careers, for example, like your modeling or your content creation, does it ever diminish your opinion? Like,
sure.
just people get this kind of impression that you're dumb, maybe?
For sure.
Do you
But the
ever feel
reality
that
is
directed towards
if I were
you?
dumb, I wouldn't have made a business out of it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
And did you ever feel that?
I mean, then when I tell them, listen, I'm studying sciences and I have a career as a scientist, they're like a bit silenced. So
But beforehand, they would have judged you.
yes, so automatic, like each time I'm labeled as just a model, influencer, content creator, whatever, local social media personality, that's the automatic assumption.
Yeah.
Or if they see me as like somewhat pretty, automatically she can't be pretty and, you know, a bit
intelligent.
smart. She's just dumb. She has to be, right? Because it
Yeah.
wants to fit like their idea of
What they expect
what
you
they
to
expect
be.
you to
Yeah.
be.
I feel like in Malta, it's quite difficult to be a content creator, an influencer, whatever, and still have an opinion. They don't go together in this country for some reason,
Which is
I don't
why
really get.
so many people don't speak out on affairs.
Exactly, because they're scared of getting attacked.
There's a stereotype.
Because why would I
right?
put my sort of reputation on the line?
Yeah.
But that's where age and knowledge comes in, and having learned through
Yeah.
so many things, you know, I realized in the last 2 years that my voice matters and I want to use it for good. And if that means I get 3 hate comments and 10 good ones, that's
what?
great. And if it means I get all the hate comments in the world, at least I would have spoken my mind. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, because I want to go home. And in future, when I have kids, I want my kids to be proud of me. I want to be on the right side of history. And if that means using my voice and maybe not pleasing everyone, now I can say, so what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that literally brings me to my next question. So at this point, you've all established the answer for me. Like, you do believe in the power of using your platform to speak out about the matters close to your hearts. But I'd like you all to take it in turns. Like, name a moment where you actually used your platform to speak out about something which is close, like which you believe in, and you actually saw some fruitful like outcomes.
I would say from my personal account, I'm not talking about Lovins because it just covers everything. I would say my eczema post. It's been a while, but I still get comments about it. I still get people coming up to me and you're like, "Are you from this?" But then I also posted. I'm remembering now about sexual harassment. Remember?
Yeah.
I had written on my back, "No means no." And when there was a case in Malta, I think of Bernice, if I'm not mistaken, people were sharing that post from like 2 years ago, which I was still like.
And these got thousands of reactions,
Yes,
like on a
yes, yes.
small account.
Yes,
so
yes.
it goes to show
Yeah,
that
exactly, the
anything.
impact.
Yeah.
And I think that was I was actually, my post was sending a message, a good message for people to stop. So I would say that was my biggest highlight.
Amazing. What about you, Taryn?
I don't know. I've spoken about a few things. I mean, I used to have a podcast which spoke about female issues. And I think one of them was about the way women are sort of treated in general and on the workplace and in their personal lives. But the most recent ones, I had also spoken about the murder of Daphne Caruana Galizia, which obviously had mixed reactions from people, but I just spoke my mind. And, you know, when you attend protests and when you attend certain things, you don't always, you know, you have to think about it. You have to think about, listen, am I doing it for myself or am I doing it because everyone is doing it? Because then that doesn't become your opinion. That just becomes...
Everyone's.
Exactly. You're a sheep.
Like we're parroting as well.
You know?
Yeah.
But recently, I spoke up about something which is very close to my heart, which is my house. So my house is my baby. I have been working in it for 5 years. I bought it alone when I was 24, and now here I am, hoping to move in next month. But recently, there was a grant being given, a scheme actually, and obviously, as happened 2 years ago, or I think 3, the last time it came out, in the span of 60 seconds, not even 2 minutes, it was gone. So obviously this year it happened again, and I was so angry. And I was so upset. And I think a lot of people were. And obviously, I spoke up about it. I said, listen, it's impossible. How is it that my architect, who's a lovely lady, I work with a lot of females actually, which is strange in the building and construction industry, but I do. And, she logged in literally in 60 seconds, it logged her back out. And the next time she was logged in, all the funds were gone. That was 2 minutes later.
Yeah.
So it was a bit, I thought, this is impossible. It's a joke, It just doesn't make any sense. And there were people who managed to get 20 applications in and people who didn't even manage one. So it just didn't make any sense. So obviously I took to social media and I said, I'm so disappointed. I really hoped, because at the end of the day, I mean, if you think about it, when I bought my house, I was 24 years old. I had just come out of university. I had my first job. I really worked super hard to get my down payment in, get everything done. I bought in a UCA area. I'm trying to conserve an old house. It takes a lot more money and time. 5 years of even trying to get your permits done, trying to find the right builders. People screw you over because you're a young female and you have no idea. You're trying to learn. I would watch videos on end to try and understand if jekkux blokkata d-disa ta' seba aw ta' sitta, and so that I could go on and be knowledgeable and prove that, listen, just because I'm young and I'm female doesn't mean you can, take me for granted and kind of take me for a ride and I have to pay extra money. So it's not easy. And even if you're not alone, even if you're two people or if you're a male, it doesn't matter. It's not an easy task. So why are we encouraging people to buy in UCA areas, to invest in a project which seems to be never ending when we're not ready to back them up, when we promise them things and we don't deliver? And that just saddened me, because I thought, how am I supposed to go on my social media and tell people, yes, invest in old houses, it's good, it's great, there are grants, when I haven't even been granted one thing that I've been promised.
Yeah.
So, so I kind of took to social media, and a lot of things happened then over time, and on the, now they're looking into it, etc. I'm not saying that was because of me.
You contributed to
I'm
it.
just
and
saying it
that's
was
important.
just nice to hear from other people saying, I'm going through the same thing. I was really hurt today. I was really disappointed today. And so that was something that meant a lot to me, and I didn't think I would get any coverage on it. It was just something that I wanted to share. In fact, I looked horrible in that photo they were sharing of me. Oh man, I was in my car after a long day. I was distraught. I was just so exhausted. I just felt like, why am I even doing this at this point? I love my house, but obviously it was just an exhausting process.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think I was just happy that I spoke about it. And maybe not everyone agreed. People who got their grants are very happy, and obviously I'm happy for them. I'm glad that somebody is getting something out of it. But my frustration led to other people sort of, I think, acknowledging, listen, okay, one, it's not always a good day. We all go through things on social media.
Yep.
And I think that's something that's quite real, So so my house, it's hopefully in a month I'll be saying it was worth it. It was great.
And then you'll get more coverage. Sharon is finally happy about her house.
No, I hope not. I should be like, here's the first one whoever moved into her house. But that's part of life, I guess, on social.
What about you? You speak a lot about the environment,
Yes.
agriculture, and it's quite refreshing to actually see people with a big following talking about these things, because they're often
one particular story I have was when I attended the protest of the Central Link project, and I took a photo with a painting that someone did.
Yeah.
And it ended up being on the cover of Times of Malta. And obviously, I didn't know about it.
I
I
remember.
just saw the newspaper and saw myself on the front page. I'm not afraid to get political, even though I've had some negative things happen. I still, encourage people to speak about their opinions on these things, because when you have such a following, you can be influential and you can affect a lot of people. And even in certain areas where I feel I am educated on, I can pass on knowledge. If I don't know that much, I'm not going to be, all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to sound experienced if I'm not. But if it's something that I'm truly passionate about, which is, the lack of trees that we have in Malta. Yes, I'll make sure to just show my opinions and strongly, and even if they're going to send like hate comments.
Yeah.
Honestly, in that time, I don't really care, even though sometimes they end up being very like hurtful and insulting. It's because ultimately that post still affected them, and it gets shared more and more people see. And to me, the most important thing is to show my love for nature and for the fact that we need to protect what we already have.
The
If
little we
not,
have left.
try to add more
Very
to
little.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on this topic, like you mentioned, the hateful comments, like these can get very exhausting. So I want to address this during this show, like negative experiences. Like, did social media ever feel toxic? Really?
It's definitely gotten in my head mentally. I've had to take breaks because the news cycle just gets a bit too heavy sometimes. It always does. It's news. You have the good and the bad, but mostly it's bad news. I've had to take a break for myself because I just couldn't handle it anymore. In a sense, I was always thinking about what's happening, and it's all in my head, and I'm just like, that's it. I was burnt out. I can't do it anymore. And so I've had that relationship with social media where I need to limit myself to what I can absorb, because even though I'm doing the stuff I can do them with my eyes closed, I'm still absorbing all this information, and it just gets too much sometimes. So that's my toxic relationship with social media.
And like when you take a break, it does help.
It does help, but you can't take like a 30-minute break and you call it a day. You need like a good week to reset, to kind of see what you've been absorbing, what you've been thinking. You need to do like some evaluation of yourself and be like, hey, take a break, take a pause, and then you can get back to the day again. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's important to take breaks, especially when
yes,
dealing with
yes,
social media.
Yes, absolutely. You can't. Me personally, I don't know about you two, but I need to take a break from social media. I can't spend my 18-year-old life spending all the time on my phone. Like to me, a lot of people my age, especially Gen Zers, they absorb a lot of social media. Like especially young children, they're scrolling on TikTok at like 4 years old, and I'm like,
And we already had social media when we were teenagers.
exactly. So Sephora, the generation after me.
Yeah.
So before, after, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, and I think Madeline, because you mentioned it before, like you're posting much less now at this point. Like it's evident that you're prioritizing different aspects of your
Yes.
life as well. So do you relate at all to this? Like, what was the reason why you had to pull back a bit from social media? And were there any moments where you felt it toxic or that it was exhausting you?
I mean, at this point now that I slowed down, it's not really that toxic for me anymore. Even the content that you engage with, it will, give it to the algorithm so that you get like similar content. So I get a lot of educational beekeeping, agricultural videos, which I really appreciate because it's like having a lecture, but an entertaining lecture. But I've had a really toxic relationship with social media when, once I spoke about against bird hunting, and I ended up receiving death threats.
Oh, wow.
So that really shook me, like, because some people who were sending these death threats actually know where I live, and where I live is surrounded by people who, engage in this hobby a lot. They see it as a traditional hobby. I mean, to me, I can understand the tradition aspect, but when you're killing, super rare birds that never come here, and now they're almost extinct because of these people, I am super against it.
And it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't mean you can kill them. I mean, this is ridiculous.
But when it gets to that point,
You know what I mean?
I am terrified,
Of course,
so
it
I had
just
to take a step back
makes
and
no
be more
sense.
careful.
Yeah.
But also, I can say something about the toxic relationship with social media and hate comments. There was actually a study carried out, and we get like a dopamine hit each time we get a notification.
Yep.
So this is why a lot of people who are hated on social media still stay on social media and still post like controversial things because they want to, because they start feeding off the hate comments, and it's so it's so weird.
It's addictive, eh?
It's addictive. So they get addicted to that dopamine, like it's a biological thing that happens inside of them. That even if it's a positive or negative, to them, if it's negative, it's controversial, so they get more coverage for it. So, I mean, being controversial for the wrong thing, I mean, that would be an issue for a lot of people. But for some, it seems to be they, thrive of it.
Yeah.
In my case, no, I just want a peaceful life. And my current life is very packed and busy and stressful that I want to use social media to chill and, see cottage core reels and just dream of having a cottage and a back garden. All the things about roses, bees, and I take it as a positive entertainment for me.
And what about you, Tarian?
I mean, social media has its good and its bad. Otherwise, it wouldn't be still around. So obviously my main platform is Instagram. The only thing that social media definitely is it's 24/7. Yes. So it has created a culture of you are available at any time. And it's also, I think, in reality, social media has really made people believe a lot that people are non-stop. So if you see somebody posting constantly, continuously, then that person is continuously doing those things and constantly doing those things. So it's also, I think we live in a certain culture where, I mean, I literally, this touched me this morning and I posted it, and I think it's good to probably mention at this point that exhaustion and burnout are seen as a sign of success. And it's not the case. Just like anything, if anyone who has social media can consider themselves to have a part-time job, because that's the amount of energy it drains from you. So just like any other job, you need your time out. And if you're constantly connected, it drains you without you even realizing. Social media is engulfing. You just become part of a cycle. And if you don't want it to stop, it just won't stop. It's never going to say, listen, hey, time's up, like, bye, see you, unless you obviously set that notification and that reminder. In reality, it's the kind of thing that you can just go on for hours and hours and hours and keep absorbing material. So sometimes, yes, you have to take a step back. And I mean, I think everyone has done it in reality. I do it sometimes even on a more regular basis, just because I like to post things in the evening when I'm relaxed at home. I like to, if I'm going out for dinner, enjoy my family and my friends. And then if I want to post about it, I'll post about it later, which means obviously sometimes my stories go up at like midnight or 1 a.m. or 5 a.m. when I wake up, and they're just crazy hours. People think, you're not at the beach at this time. No, I'm not, obviously. But I think it's just I want to do things in my own time.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, I used to feel like there was a certain trend that, and I believe Madeline remembers that people posted in real time a lot. First of all, that was exhausting. And second of all, it came to a point where it wasn't even safe. People knew where you were, knew who you were with, what you were doing. And it kind of became like before, I think I used to share a lot more of my personal life on social media. Then I realized the more things you keep private, the more they're kind of safe and you can keep them to yourselves, including my relationship. So that's something that I've really learned along the years. Now, I think people take much more time to post a bit later and take their time and maybe don't feel like there's so much pressure in posting in real time. And I think that's a culture that we've helped create as well as content creators. We've shown people that, hey, listen, you don't have to be, we're in whatever country, amazing country you're visiting and have to post everything there and then, don't stress yourself. You can do it in your own time if you want to. Your platform is still going to be there. If you want to post a week later, do it. If you want to post your family or friends, do it. If you don't, then don't. You don't have to feel pressured by what everyone expects of you. This is your platform, like we said before, and you're allowed to do things on your own terms, So that's something that I think has just taken me a while to learn. And again, I'm always learning and nobody's perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. I find myself scrolling and getting addicted and then realizing, what did I really come here to do? I have to send this person this thing. And that would be an hour later. And I'm thinking, why am I like this? Why? But it is addicting. Of course it is. And that's what, it's a marketing profile. That's what people are feeding on. That's how people make money off it because it is addicting. And it's something that I catch myself looking at people dressed in a certain way. I think, that top is so nice. guys, I have to go get it tomorrow, you know? And it happened to me recently with another Maltese content creator. I saw her wearing a dress and I literally went and bought it because it was so pretty. And now I'm so glad because it's perfect. It fits so perfectly. And but still, you know, maybe I didn't need that dress, but it is part of the culture that social media is. You just have to really realize that you can do it and have it and operate it on your own terms.
Yeah. So you pretty much just answered my next question because I wanted to hear a bit. No, it's fine. It's fine. I love when that happens.
This celebration is about those who come next, building on dreams and foundations. You get the context. For our people, our movement, not lost, but living, searching for a future filled with living, loving, and giving. It doesn't have to be about the great, the big, and the mighty. It can be about taking those small acts of kindness just a little less lightly, making the most of our bodies, being thankful for each new day. The next 15 years is about the new creators, thinkers, movers, and shakers. But we need a helping hand. Are there any takers?
How do you navigate the pressure of presenting a curated version of yourself on social media versus being authentic? Like, do you feel like you can strike a balance, Hayley?
Yes, as in you should have a balance between your social media self and your real life self. Ideally, they're the same person.
Yeah.
Ideally, your social media self is your real authentic self. But at this day and age, I don't think there's that balance yet. I think some people, unfortunately, when you meet them, they can be really rude and they can be really aggressive or whatever. And then on social media, they're a total different person. So I think we still need to find that balance. I think especially in this country as well, where you have to be your real self on social media. Because I think even personally, you can see like, you can start putting on different masks. You can put your I'm an influencer mask or I'm promoting this juice or something. So you need to find that balance between your real self and your social media self.
Taryn?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's a very tricky thing because obviously you want to be yourself at every point of the day, but then there are moments where you feel vulnerable or where you feel like you've had a bad day. I don't speak much on Instagram, like actual speaking. When I do, I sound very goofy and mad, but that's kind of who I am. So I always think, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, now I know that people who are there don't expect me to speak on a daily basis. Some people do, and that really works for them, and that's great. But it's not always the case. Then again, with brands, for example, like you were saying, you know, some people put on masks, but that's something that you really have to learn over time. And I think that, again, nobody's mastered it. I feel like I definitely haven't. Sometimes I have to think and take a step back and think, okay, do I really want to work with this brand? Do I really believe in this product? You know, I mean, I've had offers, great offers from really super companies that I've thought, you know, this doesn't really fit who I am or it doesn't make sense with my life. And I've had to take a step back and say, okay, it's a great deal, but it's just not who I want to be, or it's not who I really am. Because even that, like, do you not take on certain companies because of the way people might think of you, or just because you don't believe in them yourself? And that's another question that kind of, am I doing it for them or am I doing it for me?
Yeah, it always boils down to that, eh?
Yep.
And sometimes you just have to take a step back because, like we said, social media is engulfing and you kind of end up doing things like, sometimes I see people saying, oh, what do you want to see from me? And I get it. Some platforms are just for that. But my platform started for a totally different reason. It started with me sharing things I loved. So I don't ever want to stop doing that because I feel like people love something else. So now I have to share something else. You know, it happens with everything, with food, with outfits, with everything. So for example, with travel, like that's something I've always loved to do. And that's, I know, is my safe space. So, but yes, it is a tricky situation. And you really have to try and think to yourself, is this who I am? Is this my authentic self? But then I know content creators who are just happy selling things. And that works for them. So in reality, I think everyone has their own way. And as much as we try to always be ourselves, you can't preach to people to do what you expect out of them. So it kind of has to be like, listen, this is my platform. How do I want to operate it? How do I want it to help people? Do I even want it to help people? Or is it just a marketing platform? There are two different ways of going about it, you know, because like companies have a social media, then people do as well. But then the audience has to be clever enough to realize, listen, this is a selling profile and this is a lifestyle profile.
Yeah.
She's sharing her life, whether she likes to or not, her opinions on issues or not. Some people don't do that, and that's fine. That works for them. Some people speak, some people don't.
Yeah.
So it's a learning curve, and I think there's a very fine line, but it's a very subjective thing.
It's like a personal experience, eh? And we're all like personalizing it for ourselves.
Exactly.
What about you, Madeline? What do you think?
Since I don't post my personal life as much, I mean, there's still like a balance between what is posted on social media as a model or content creator. But sometimes I do hint, that I'm a scientist, that I'm constantly in the lab. But also I like being mysterious. So like if
I love it.
if I spent the whole weekend like raving, I wouldn't necessarily post about it, on social media, like on my stories, because I feel that that's my personal life.
Yeah.
And then if I want to show something related to the niches that I already am part of, like nature, beekeeping, then yes, I feel that they would fit the niche that I'm already representing. But that doesn't mean that there isn't like any more aspects that I fill in. It's just that I don't post about them, Not every follower has to know everything that I do in my personal life. But then again, like people tend to assume certain things because they see me as a model. And then when I start, showing more of what I do in my hobbies, then they start understanding like the
real you.
Yes, the real me. I mean, I'm not saying that modeling isn't the real me, because honestly, modeling has helped me so much with my shyness. Like, even the fact that I came here today, I have like issues with posting videos of me speaking. I'm just so shy. I'm not trying to break out of it, because when I do speak, like actually it engages people more and they get to see like how I speak and, So modeling has helped me a lot in my confidence, like as a person actually. So kudos to that, definitely.
Nice. Okay, so as we wrap up our discussion on social media, like we've come to the end.
Already.
Yeah, already. I want to ask all of you, if there was one piece of advice you could give to your younger self or other young women navigating the digital world, what would it be?
Oh my God.
Who wants to go
question.
first?
Let's go last on this one, please. I have to think.
I have to think as
As
well.
well.
I would say just don't fall a victim to the things that you see on social media in terms of, for example, with modeling. I'm mentioning modeling a lot, but it takes quite a chunk of my life. Obviously, there are many beautiful girls who exist, and there will always be younger, taller, skinnier, better skin. You have to accept the fact that this is not a competition. If they're beautiful, you are beautiful as well in your own way. You have your personal life that you're, creating for yourself, your hobbies that no one can take from you, your skills, your talents. And beauty isn't everything, because I see that, like I see myself when I was like 12, 13. It's like how you look is everything, Oh my God, I have acne. Oh my God, my hair is frizzy.
Yeah.
I'm pale or too pale and, not tall enough, not skinny enough. And all these things like really affect you when you're younger. I'm sure it affects like even people our age as well. But when you're young, you're just so impressionable and you're made to believe that everything about how you look, that's all you are, especially as a woman. So you need to get hobbies that are also have nothing to do with beauty. I mean, modeling can be helpful, but you need to have things that are not just related to aesthetics and skills, that they will, grow over time and they're yours. No one can take that away from you. And that's the advice I would give. Like, even on social media, don't just present yourself as all about how you look, just show yourself in a different light, in a way that is meaningful to you. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I would say to not feel guilty for being offline.
Wow. Nice.
So I've had like self-evaluations and I journal. So I've realized that I would always feel guilty when I'm not on my phone, looking for stories, looking for headlines, whatever. So just take a breath in and just kind of take a shut off your phone, put it somewhere where you can't see it, and just be offline. You need to be present. You need to be alive, not scrolling on your phone. So that's what my advice would be, and to not make everything seem perfect. You are not perfect. No one is perfect. What you create isn't perfect. So just let it be.
I love that.
Love it as well.
Yeah. I think if I had to go back in time, I think I'd tell myself that other people's opinions of me don't define me. You know, and I wish I could say it to everyone who will be listening to this podcast. The opinions of others don't define you. If you're true to yourself and you do things that you feel are right for you, then there's no right and wrong.
Yeah.
And as you said, nobody's perfect. We
Yeah.
all have flaws, and we have to accept our flaws. And if they are flaws that are things that are toxic to other people, then we can work on them. But if they're flaws we cannot change about ourselves, we have to learn to live with them. Nobody's perfect,
Yeah.
and that's the reality. But if anyone's listening to this, whether you have social media or not, think before you speak. When you're writing a comment about someone else's appearance, about someone else's thoughts, about someone else's job, think, does this make you feel better about yourself, or is it helping someone else? Because there's a massive difference. So that's what I would say.
Wow, amazing closing thoughts from all of you. Like, I think a lot of women, especially young women, will benefit from these pieces of advice. I'd like to thank you all once again for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you so much. And yeah.
It was nice to talk to everyone about something that's so current
Yep.
and real.
Yeah.
And again,
Yeah.
And from different perspectives as
Yeah.
well in the industry.
and I think we all agree that social media isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's just the way you handle it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool.
And let's educate our
Women.
future content creators, women on social.
Yeah.
Let's try and teach people how to use it in a better way.
Yes.
Perfect closing. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And we'll see you next week.